All right, today we're going to crack open the secrets to Sabri Suby's Sell Like Crazy system. Now, this isn't just a few tips and tricks. We're talking about a full-blown framework for building a machine that just floods your business with new customers. The goal here? To turn anyone, even a total novice, into an absolute sales expert. So let's dive right in.
Okay, but before we even start building this machine, we've got to face a pretty harsh reality, and that is, why do so many businesses actually fail? And the numbers here, they're pretty grim. Check this out. A staggering 96% of all businesses are gone within 10 years. Gone. I mean, most of them don't even survive for 2. It's just a brutal landscape out there.
So, that leads to the big question, right? What's the secret sauce? What in the world do that top 4% know that everyone else doesn't? Here's a hint. It has nothing to do with working harder. It's all about working smarter and focusing on the very few things that actually matter. And that brings us to the very first core idea here, the billionaire's 4% rule. And trust me, this is a huge mindset shift. It's all about breaking that cycle of just being busy and instead becoming, well, ruthlessly productive.
So you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, right? The Pareto principle. It's that classic idea that, 80% of your results are going to come from just 20% of your efforts, or like 20% of your customers are bringing in 80% of the money. It's a super powerful concept.
But here's where things get really, really interesting. Sabri Suby basically says, okay, let's take that rule a step further. What do you think happens when you apply the 80-20 rule to itself? Think about that for a sec.
You get the 4% rule, and this is kind of mind-blowing. It means a tiny, tiny sliver of what you do. We're talking just 4% of your total effort is driving a whopping 64% of your revenue. The big takeaway here is you have to find that 4%, and then you have to become obsessed with it.
So what are these magical 4% activities? Well, for Sabri Suby, it's stuff like writing killer sales copy, dreaming up irresistible offers and promotions, building out your sales funnels. He calls these highly leveraged activities, the tasks that actually move the money needle. Everything else, you either delegate it or you automate it, period.
Okay, great. So now we know what to focus on. But you can't really do any of that if you don't know who you're talking to in the first place, right? And that brings us to the next critical piece of the puzzle, finding your dream buyer. And we're going to do that using something called the Halo strategy.
The legendary marketer Robert Collier absolutely nailed it with this one. He said you have to enter the conversation already taking place in the customer's mind. This isn't about guessing what they want. It's about knowing.
The Halo strategy is basically about you becoming a detective. Seriously, you need to get this deep, almost obsessive understanding of your ideal customer. Like, what actually keeps them up at night? What are their biggest frustrations? Their deepest secret desires? You need to know it all.
So how do you actually do that? Simple. You go where they hang out online. You become a lurker in forums, in Reddit threads, in those niche Facebook groups for your industry. And you just listen. You pay attention to the exact words they use to describe their biggest hair-on-fire problems. I'm telling you, this is an absolute goldmine of intelligence. Okay, so once you know your dream buyer inside and out, then it's time to create an offer that's so good they would feel like an absolute fool for saying no. And this, my friends, is what we call the Godfather Offer. And check out the difference here. On the one hand, you have a totally boring, forgettable offer. Mattresses for sale. Yawn. But on the other hand, you have Casper's Godfather Offer. It's super specific, it totally reverses the risk with that 120-night trial, and it's just packed with value. This is the kind of thing that took them from 0 to over $600 million in sales. Huge difference. Yeah, the goal here is pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You want to make your offer so compelling that turning it down just feels like a legitimately bad decision. The value has to be so overwhelmingly stacked in their favor that they can't help but say yes.
And look, a great offer isn't just pulled out of thin air. It has a specific structure. You need a rationale, like why are you even making this amazing offer? You need to build the value, you got to have your pricing and payment options clear, and then you add bonuses, and what might be the most important part, you need a power guarantee that completely flips the risk off of them and onto you.
All right, so you've found your dream buyer. You've created this incredible Godfather Offer. But what about all those people who just aren't ready to buy right this second? Well, that's where the magic lantern technique comes into play.
You see, at any given moment, only about 3% of your potential customers are actually in buy now mode. Just 3%. The real money, The giant opportunity is in the other 97%. The people who know they have a problem or are just starting to gather information.
So the magic lantern technique is all about systematically turning that initial skepticism into solid trust. It's like you're holding up a lantern and illuminating the path for them. You guide them by giving them value and real results in advance, long before you ever even think about asking for the sale.
Here's a perfect way to think about it. Imagine a PR consultant. They don't just show up and ask for your business. No way. First, they might offer you a free social media audit. Then, maybe they give you a super valuable list of things not to say to an influencer. Then, a blogger outreach template. See? Each step delivers a real, tangible result, building trust and proving their expertise every step of the way.
And just look at what happens. As you keep providing all this value, their skepticism just plummets, and their trust in you goes through the roof. So by the time you finally present that Godfather offer, they aren't just a warm lead. They are ready and genuinely eager to work with you. The sale just becomes the next logical step. There's no high-pressure closing needed.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together now, because what we've been talking about isn't just a random collection of tactics, it's a complete, cohesive system for selling.
This is really the heart of the entire system. You focus only on your 4% high-leverage activities. You use the halo strategy to get inside the head of your dream buyer. Then you build them an irresistible Godfather offer. And finally, you use the magic lantern technique to guide them until they're ready to say yes. That is the machine that turns total strangers into your best customers.
And that brings us to one last question for you to think about. I want you to forget about the 96% of tasks that just keep you busy but broke. Instead, look at your own business right now. What is the one single high-leverage 4% activity that you could pour all your energy into this week that could genuinely change everything for you?